everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on our final commission for the month of July 2026, and it is from Shimoyama, and it is a film called Ocean Waves. I don't know if film is the right word, because I went to go watch it on HBO Max today, and I looked it up, and it's only like an hour and 12 minutes long, which is interesting. So I guess like a mini movie or an OVA. I don't exactly know what it is, but I'm excited. Other than it being animated, I don't know anything about it. So as per usual with my commissions, I go in blind and we'll watch it and talk about it and see what happens. So, but with that being said, I want to thank Shimoyama and I want to thank everyone else in the commission tier for commissioning movies for this month. You all chose some fantastic movies. I've had so much fun watching them and talking about them. I hope you've enjoyed the reactions and discussions. And if you all want to know what I'm going to be watching in August, you can check out my monthly channel updates and they will be featured on there. And you can go to my Patreon commission playlist on my channel and see what movies I have already watched, and maybe there's one that will strike your fancy. And you can always visit my Patreon and see if there is a spot open on the commission tier to recommend a movie or a single volume of a manga or an audio drama or something else to be a cosplay. Maybe I've had those commissioned. So yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna throw this to my dog. We're gonna get down to brass tacks. As you know, I'll be using these headphones. There will be a link down below if you want to see the pictures. But one thing I do want to note is that there was a advertisement for HBO Max that started right before I started this. And so the movie is going to start with the timer right after that. So it shows me that there is 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 8 seconds left. So if that helps you to sync up just to be safe, then that's how we're going to do it. But anyway, we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into Ocean Waves and see what we get. And we are going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's begin. Make sure my sound is all the way up. Oh, it's Studio Ghibli. Oh, come on. I should have known. I was like, they have all of Ghibli's catalog. Curious. I'm a sucker for this animation style. Hello. Yeah, you can tell it's Ghibli immediately, the facial expressions. I wonder if the Pixar animation Paper Plane is based off of this? Because this meeting at the train and being on the opposite sides of the tracks is similar. 1993. Okay. So wow, 33 years ago. I wonder if it is based on that, because Paper Plane kind of has a similar start. Yeah. And John Lasseter and a lot of the animators at Pixar really like Ghibli, so they draw a lot of inspiration from them. So curious. Oh man, that's a 93 graphic. Look at that. I'm assuming that says Ocean Waves. Look, you got a Four Roses bourbon sign in your house, sir? My mother would be so proud. She loves Four Roses. I don't drink anymore, really, but I will say I've had Four Roses bourbon. It's not bad. They make a nice cream liqueur for coffee, if that helps. So who is she? Was that the lady that you saw at the train station? She had orange on as well. I just love how realistic this all is. Like you just know it's lived in. It feels like it's picking up from the same animation style as Oliver and Company from like late 80s Disney. I love this man just like sitting there with his arms out to the side. Like you could see a man like that. Is he flying? I know a lot of people in Japan fly to different parts of Japan, so. Oh, can you see when you take off? Really? I didn't know that Japanese planes had that. Oh. Oh, I had to set the subtitles. They weren't set. Rikako 2 years ago. Okay. Summer of your junior year of college or high school? I'm assuming college. But 2 years ago. Oh, I like to zoom in. Oh, look at that pink phone. Come on, 90s. I'm assuming they're in college because he said junior. Now, wait a minute! I mean, I don't blame him for being mad because the kid just left without getting done with his shift. I don't blame him for being mad. As a 38-year-old now, I'm like, no, I get that. I feel that. Tell the kid you can meet him later. Well, maybe by kids he also means that he's. I don't think he's still in high school though. Oh, I love the clock tower and the wood paneling. Did you call your friend over to tell him about this girl you're stalking? Okay, so this is in high school. You should try talking to her. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so he is still in high school, right? Hawaii in high school? Hawaii in high school? You privileged students! I would have killed to go to Hawaii in high school. The privilege of it all. Hawaii's freaking expensive. Yes. Yeah. Maybe it's not that far of a trip for them, but the 90s, the privilege of the 90s. We're going to talk about it. I'm glad it wasn't just in the US where this was going on. Aw. Oh, the 90s. We're going to talk about this so much. I have so much to say. I do like this, like the fade out. Ah. You have those. Okay, so they're still in middle school. That's crazy. Ooh. Get a bunch of hormonal 14-year-olds. Oh. Ooh. Okay. We have so much to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of this. I have so much I want to say about this movie already. Knowing they're junior high students, that makes more sense about the girl. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This has a very Stand By Me feel. Oh, you marched down there. Real confident. Oh. Interesting. Oh my. Mm. Oh, it's the two of them. Oh, I love it. Oh shit. Bitch. Wow. Okay. Woo. I have lots I want to add, but I want to not lose focus from the reaction. So trust and believe we will talk about this in the discussion. That's such a that's such a bitch move. Okay, that's a bitch move. I don't blame these students for getting a little mad at that. That's but now that you're sitting there, what are you gonna write? And where's Yutaka? I guess he's in a different room, or did he not come? Well, no, there was a reason given, but these are middle schoolers, so I get why they don't like it. And they're not wrong per se in a sense, but mm, I don't. These besties. What did he write? Much more eloquent. Oh my gosh, he. Oh my god, much more eloquent. Wow. I love that they keep fading in and out to like the frames. Interesting. It's an interesting cinematography move. I don't know if I get it per se right now, but I like it. It's not, I'm not mad at it. Mm. Uh-huh. That's I'm glad you talked to her. So, how'd it go? I have theories about him, but I don't want to say them yet because I don't want to be completely wrong. I'm gonna be curious. Funny that with that rainbow is sign right after that scene though. Hmm. Okay, he is like a gang member. Okay. I was gonna wonder about that. He seemed like a delinquent. Why would you say that? Are you thinking there's something wrong with her? Hmm. I have things I want to say. That's not true. I have thoughts about their relationship, but I'm gonna not say them yet. But us simple country boys. Mm, of course. I know they're big. Uh huh. Hmm. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Ha! Of course. Oh. 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 Hmm. Interesting. In a lot of ways, what does that mean? Our main boy seems a little bit naive. Hmm. Yeah, Taku. Hmm. Yeah, Taku seems pretty simple. I think. Hmm. I don't think she's stuck up. I think she's just quiet and she doesn't fit in. Hmm. I have my thoughts about Taku and Yukata and her, but I want to see if they actually go there with this. I'm like, are they going to go there? I am curious if they will. And I wonder if Yukata like was drawn to her at the beginning not because of how she looks, but because she's an outsider and he feels drawn to her for that reason, but mm, hmm. Oh. Huh. Hmm. Oh god. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, very much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, she is your mom. Yes, it seems like she is having a very hard time adjusting. Oh man, look at the cassette tape. Is that Gundam? Oh, Go Kiter. Yes, sure. I'm wondering why the movie's called Ocean Waves, because they come in and out and they're ever flowing and ever changing. But I'm curious why that is. Man, remember the days when you had a landline? Utaka, of course. Did you? Lives alone? Oh. That's it! Was he testing him there, or. That was an odd conversation. Are they. Okay, are they. Is Utaka like testing Taku to see if he likes him or likes her, or. I'm getting vibes. I'm getting vibes. Imagine your high school going to Hawaii. Your middle school going to Hawaii. I don't know how long the flight is from Japan to Hawaii, but that is such a privileged trip. Or do they both end up liking the same girl? Interesting. Oh man, traveler's checks. Imagine that. Hmm. Was she. Did she just put the moves on you? Oh shit, girl. In 93? In 93, you're in middle school with $400? Interesting. What in the Manic Pixie Dream Girl? That's a good thing to bring up. Yeah, the stereotypes. Yes, everyone thinks so. Mmm. Oh, no, no, no. Hmm. Oh, that explains a lot. She couldn't understand people because the accent was too thick. Oh. Hmm. Ah. Interesting. Well, he did too. Well, that's not true. Uh, ahem. uh, I don't know how to feel about her. That's a lot to loan. They are kids, though, but still. Hmm. The English, that's great. These kids are so secretive with the money. Yeah. Huh. Hmm. 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 She just took his money and ran. Imagine that. They wore matching shorts. Ah. I feel like Yukata is gay, but maybe he just wants to be her platonic friend, which is totally fine if he's not interested in her. But he really seems into, I don't know. I don't want to assume. I don't want to assume. Maybe they're just bros. Maybe they're just best bros. Maybe they're just best bros. Why should we assume that two guys that get to know each other and like each other like this are anything but best friends? Let's just say that. Let's just go with that. You know, I get vibes, but let's just go with that. And she doesn't really know anybody. Oh. Mmm. You still took it from him? I mean, it's just to him. They're best friends. She is kind of odd. Also, oh my god, all those kids on that platform. Uh, oh. So they're still in middle school? Or are they in high school? Ah, that looks so good. Is it? Oh, okay. Ooh. The friend Yumi, interesting. What? What? With the money. Mm. Oh. Yeah. Oh, wow, really? That's crazy. Girl. Girl. This got complicated for a bunch of middle schoolers really quick. Even if they're middle school or high school, this is complicated for these kids. Also, that red jacket with the jeans and the white shirt, it reminds me of Akira. Iconic. Iconic. Mm-hmm. She took your money. This is crazy. Uh-huh. Yeah, a bit. I wondered if she was going to try to see her dad. Yeah. Mm. Hmm. Ooh. Ooh. Mm. Mm. Is she gonna try to get him to go? Ooh. Oh. Yes, it is. No, they don't. Mm. Well, pay the other friend back too. Pray you caught it back. You would. Imagine that. How you gonna explain to your parents? These kids just going to airports and going in airplanes in middle high school without their parents being like, sure. What? The 90s were a wild time, y'all. The 90s were a wild time. It's a fine time to ask her that now. Hmm. Ah. Interesting. Yes. That's crazy. Hmm. Oh, wow. Because they own a fruit factory. Yeah. Yeah. Mmm. Well, that means that you'll have plenty of places to stay. Ooh. Yeah. I just love the 90s tech and the. Oh. He's found somebody. Oh, fancy. He's like, how did I end up like this? A boyfriend, huh? We've converted it to a different room. I wonder if boyfriend was the right translation there because he acts so casual in that moment about that. Oh, look at her posh. Look at that Tokyo posh fashion. Oh, she does not want to be seen. Ooh, ooh, that was cold. That was the walk of a woman that wants to get the hell out of Dodge before things blow up. Ooh, she didn't come down with him. You have this big ass house. You ain't gonna let him stay there? You don't got a spare bedroom? I do feel sorry for her, but I mean, I also don't blame him for also wanting to be happy too. Hey, mom, I'm in Tokyo. How'd you get there? Oh my god, I would be toast. If those were my parents, I'd be grounded for life. Oh, you would say that, girl. I'm not sure I like her character very much, but I guess I don't like the stereotype of her character. It's very, very 90s. Yeah, yeah. Poor Taku. He's like, I didn't even want to date this girl or be with her from the get-go. Everybody keeps forcing her upon me. Oh, don't drink the stuff from the fridge. They're gonna charge you for that. Aren't you 14? Bitch! Whoa! Whoa! Were you kids drinking so young and the whiskey? Jesus. Yeah, that's not good. That's a real bad idea. And on your period, girl? You gonna be cramping up horribly. Oh, that's what I figured. That's what I figured. Green's my favorite color! Yeah, she just hates the change that her dad's moving forward. Hmm. It's such a viewpoint for a kid to have. Hmm. And that would suck. Yeah. Girl. Oh. Oh, girl, she drunk. Hmm. That's such a thing to do in that moment. Oh no, she passed out. You gonna be a gentleman, Taku? Nice. Oh, sweetheart. He does have what a predicament. What a predicament. What a gentleman. Girl. Oh, what? Oh my god. She's I mean, I know they're kids. They're kids. They're kids. Mm. That was awesome that it did lead him to make that decision to attend there. Mm. You are handling that much better than I would be. I'd be like, wait, you drug me on this trip. I mean, he did volunteer to go, but and then you just pieced out to go hang out with a friend. I would hang out with him. You drug him all the way to Tokyo, girl. Oh no, don't do that. Oh man. Hello, Gary Oak. How you doing? Oikawa, is that you? It looks like, is that the same voice as Oikawa? I mean, did you? I'm not surprised with him being so young. Mm, mm, hmm. Huh, interesting. She said he was rescuing her. Hmm. Oh. Ooh, I love that he's like, I don't like this pretentiousness. I don't think that that's it. No, oh, sweetheart, that ain't it. Mm. She didn't stand up. Yeah. I didn't think she fawned over him, but she definitely lets her guard down. Girl is an emotional. But you aren't even dating him. She's a treat. Hmm. Yeah, that's a big theme of this. That is a big theme of this movie about memory and nostalgia. Mm-hmm. 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 No. It did make him decide where he wanted to go to college, though. Did she? Did she? Did she grow up? Oh. I don't like Rikako at all, to be frank. What about Yukata? Oh, this girl. Interesting. She stood up for her earlier. Interesting. Hmm. All the cicadas, the summer cicadas. Is that like the Ice Palace in Yuri on Ice? Oh, come on, product placement. Mm. I was wondering if he'd find out. Because I bet Yumi told. Ah. Mm. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Ooh. I don't like her. She's not likable. Oh. Well, nope. He was in love with her. Oh, that's so insensitive, girl. But she's gonna like Taku. Oof. Oh. Ooh. I agree. That was a bitch move. I was convinced that Yukata liked him, but we will have no gayness in a Miyazaki film, apparently. Yeah, as if the rumors aren't going to go from there. Everybody's going to go listen to her. You know they will. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh. Oh, shit! Oh! If they get together after all of this, I don't know. I'm not really rooting for them to get together by the end of this, but maybe they'll change when they get older. What a complicated movie. I'm not mad that he slapped her. She kind of deserved it. That one girl seems to try want to help her. Oof. Mmm. 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 Excuse me. I have a lot of problems with Rukako. A lot of problems with her. Oof. Oof. She kind of is self-absorbed. Oof. Oof. Oh, Jesus. Oof. Oof. Damn. I mean, I can't feel bad for Rikaku because she's done all this to herself. And she's kind of fickle. Why she keeps slapping him? I want to feel bad for her, but Jesus. I don't miss being in middle school. All of these hormones, all of these angsty feelings, I don't miss that. I do not miss that. He's going to tell him to go after him. Mmm. Mmm. I feel bad for Yutaka of all of them. Nah, man. You're going to get slapped on the other cheek. Ooh. Like, dude, I like her and she clearly likes you. Damn. Like, Baka. He knows that she likes you and you're his best friend. And he's like, hmm. Damn. Oh my God. No resolution? Okay, so they were in high school. Okay. And you didn't talk again? That's angsty as shit. What? What? Did he see her at Tokyo, though? Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, thank God. I was gonna be pissed. Okay. Okay. Hmm. 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 Oh, interesting. It's kind of like LA or New York. Hey, come on, Jingu Stadium. Yeah. Hmm. I would watch a whole movie of just them and their broship and their bromancy friendship. I would totally watch it forever. I'm glad they got to talk. Aw. Ha! Aww. Yes, good. Talk. Talk to each other, please. Oh, I love this saxophone. Like, oh, so, or the horns. It's so good. Oh, I love that shot. Did he? Hmm. I mean, I do think he was holding back at the time when you punched him. Hmm. But is she gonna show up? Oh my god. Aw, I like the fact they had this reunion. Don't be smoking, kids! Huh? Oh my god. This guy got stuck in a cult. No wonder he's smoking. Ah! Oh my god. Got crazy. Oh. 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 Oh, that's cute. Are you gonna say they like recog? Where's Yumi? Is Yumi out with Rikako? Is she with Rikako? Oh. Mm. Oh shit! Huh. Oh, is she gonna pull up and be like, hey, we both were done dirty by Rikako. How's it going? Hmm. 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 She's like, I look exactly the same from high school. Hmm. Hmm. Ah. Ah. Uh. Wow, I misjudged that. I misjudged that at all. I took that entirely different. Mmm. Mmm. These two guys that liked her. Mmm. Ah. Mmm. Oh, it's Yumi. Ah. Ha! Oh my god, dude, not the right time. Not the right time. Dude, worst time to confess. Ha! Ha! Man, I feel bad for Yukata. Hmm. Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, and he knows. Hmm. I feel so bad for Yukata. I really do. Hmm. 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 You could do better. He could do better. Hmm. Ah. Interesting indeed. Hmm. 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 And she's wearing pink too. Hmm. I feel like Paper Planes was exactly made from this. Yeah. Oh. I feel like it was inspired by this a lot. Ah, dang it! Dang it! Ah, and she went the other way. Oh no, there she is. Hmm. 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 Interesting indeed. Ah, I want to see the end credits though. The artwork is so good. Yukata, justice for Yukata. Justice for him. I think I relate most to his character. Hmm. Good job, Jim Hubbard, for translating. Good job. And good job, Aura, for the subtitles. Thank you. I just. I get the Manic Pixie Dream Girls vibes from her, which was very common in the 90s to the early 2000s. And I don't know. There's like an exoticism to her. And she's from Tokyo. She's like, trendy and different and misunderstood. And yeah. And it's probably a cultural divide as well. But her type of character just irks me in all the wrong ways. But I'm going to try to be fair in the discussion to her because she was a kid. But she's just like, "Ugh, I'm just so different, misunderstood." And I'm like, girl. She's also kind of self absorbed. And she's, honestly, I'm like, Yuta boy, you could do better. She seems like a lot. She seems like a lot. She seems like a lot to mess with. If you're up for handling that, then sure. If you're a glutton for punishment, sure. She just seems like a lot. Hmm. Interesting. Oh, we're gonna have to spill the tea about this movie. Wow, I did not know they could pack that much drama into an hour on like 10 minutes, but they managed to do it. Oh my gosh. Okay. I may have seemed like a negative Nancy during parts of this reaction, and there were parts that I was like, what? So I took a break. I went and ate dinner, and I thought about this movie a lot. And how I wanted to tackle it for this discussion, because I believe it is owed that, because I am kind of baffled by this movie in a sense. So we're just going to talk about logistics first, just the Wikipedia logistics of ocean waves, aka I Can Hear the Sea. And then we're going to talk about like the good of it and what is really good, because it does have a lot of value. This movie is good in a lot of ways, and I really, really appreciated it. It's a fantastic commission, so thank you, Shimoyama. You got my blood boiling though and stirred up, because there's some other things about this movie that I'm like, I feel like it was meant to be something that it did not become. And so we're going to talk about that, because I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts and opinions that are just opinions. Do not take them as factual. They are my opinions. We all have them. But let's talk about Ocean Waves. So Ocean Waves is about this movie. It's known in Japan as I Can Hear the Sea. It is a 1993 Japanese anime it's depicted as a coming of age romantic drama television film, which I would agree it is. Very much. Directed by Tomomi Mochizuki and written by Kiko Niwa, who is credited as Kaoru Nakamura, based on the 1990 to 1992 novel by the same name by Saiko Himuro. It was animated by Studio Ghibli for Takuma Shoten and the Nippon Television Network. It aired on May 5th, 1993. It's set in the city of Kochi and follows... Now here's the Wikipedia description, and we're gonna contest that a little bit. We're gonna come back to this, so just put a pin in this. Follows a, quote, love triangle that develops between two good friends and a new girl who transfers to their high school from Tokyo. So we're gonna go back to that and talk about it. But yeah, so apparently Ocean Waves was an attempt by Studio Ghibli to allow their younger staff members to make a film reasonably cheap. So, they're trying to capitalize off of the success of Studio Ghibli, and they're like, hey, we've made some good bangers. We've got some bucks in the tank. We're gonna let Miyazaki take a break, and we're gonna let you new up and coming creators make a film, and we'll do it under budget, and it'll give us some money while also not letting us exhaust our main canons of talent. So we'll just do that. However, according to the Wikipedia article, it ended up going over budget and over schedule. So in 1995, there was a sequel novel created called I Can Hear the Sea 2 Because There Is Love published. And in the same year, a TV drama mainly based on this work came out, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would read the sequel. I do not think I would, if it's following the storyline that the credits lead it to follow. So yeah. So we'll talk about the plot here a little bit, that Taku Morisaki and his friends Taku and Yutaka, I have so much I want to say, asking to meet at their high school, and then Yutaka is the attractive, he finds Yutaka with an attractive female transfer student, Rikako Muto, whom he was asked to show around. We're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about Rikako and all of that. So yeah, the plot was pretty easy to follow. We're going to get into that and my thoughts about it. But apparently it was based on Himuro's novel, which it was first serialized in February 1990 to 1992 with Animage magazine. The monthly installments were collected in a hardcover book published on February 28th, 1993, with some episodes omitted. I'm curious about those omitted episodes. That's interesting. Both the book and its sequel were republished as a paperback in 1999 with some pop culture references updated. I wish it was published in English because I would really be interested in reading it, but anyway, the production of Ocean Waves was controlled by Studio Ghibli, but much of the animation was produced with the assistance of JC staff, Madhouse Studios, and O Production, who had worked with Ghibli on past projects. The film is the first Ghibli anime directed by someone other than Hayao Miyazaki or Isao Takahata. Tomomi Mochizuki, who was 34 at the time, was brought in to direct. The film was an attempt to make an anime solely by the young staff members, mostly in their 20s and 30s. Their motto was to produce, quote, quickly, cheaply, and with quality. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to stop you right there. Anytime someone says that something's going to be made quickly and cheaply, but with quality, you're going to have to omit one of those three words. You can create it quickly with quality. You can create it cheaply with quality over time. You cannot create something quickly and cheaply with quality. I'm a firm believer of that. You can't cut corners and expect it to be of high quality. That's an oxymoron. But that's just my opinion. But it ultimately went over budget and over schedule. Apparently Mochizuki claimed that he developed a peptic ulcer because of the stress. It's like March comes in like a lion all over again. Everybody getting the ulcers and stress. It did not get a lot of good reviews, which I will defend this film. I think it has a lot of quality to it, but I think that I would be curious how closely it adapts the source material, and if the source material, I guess we're going to treat this film as if it closely adapts the source material. We're just going to consider that, and I have things to say about said source material. And again, we need to take note that this was in the early 1990s, so there was a lot of stigma at the time, and so I find it interesting because this is reminding me a lot of Run with the Wind. Quite a bit. It reminds me of Run with the Wind a little bit, and how I think these authors get cold feet when they're presented with the opportunity to create a queer story. And you're gonna have to stick with me on this one, because I feel as if this story started going one direction, and then the story got to a point and the writer was like, do I want to be popular and sell my story to a more commercial audience, or do I want to go a different route? And they chose to sell to a more commercial audience. And I think that was a mistake. I think they missed out on a very golden opportunity to create a very intriguing queer story that would have been very captivating, but we're going to get into it. So let's dive in about this series. The one thing I do want to talk to is about ironically enough, the voice actress for Rikako, Yoko Sakamoto, does not have a Wikipedia page. The cover poster has old girl Rikako at the center of it, which I have thoughts. The young man Taku Morisaki, our main character, is played by Nobuo Tobita, who I recognized as he plays the narrator in Bleach, which is fun. He also plays Clovis Labritannia in Code Geass. And he also is Peckham's in One Piece. So I was like, that's a random thing. He's also been he's been voice acting for like 20 years. Like, he's a well-known voice actor. And then, okay, look, the voice actor for our boy Yutaka, our boy Yutaka is voiced by the Toshihiko Seki, who is from the 1998 Trigun Legato Blue Summers. And I was like, oh, but you might know him in Demon Slayer as this little-known character, Muzan. Might know him as him. And I was like, oh, that's where that sultry, deep voice came from. Okay. Like, he's been voice acting for like 30-something years. Crazy. So good. So good. I latched on to our boy Yutaka instantly. I was like, yeah, I latched onto him pretty hardcore. So I want to talk about this movie. I want to run through it like scene by scene with you all and just kind of talk about it. The good about this movie, though, if we're talking about the good, it is beautifully animated. I mean, Studio Ghibli, I don't think Studio Ghibli has a poor animated film. I think their animation is top quality no matter what movie you get. It just looks beautiful. I am a big fan. I know a lot of people talk about like when Disney Studios were at their kind of like animation studio worst is like late 70s into the 80s before Little Mermaid came along and the Disney Renaissance started. But I am actually a huge fan of, like, a lot of people say that Oliver and Company and 101 Dalmatians has this like grungy illustrative style. I love it. It's hyper detailed, it's grungy, it's gritty. I like it a lot. And this movie is sort of taking that and making it more like polished. Like Studio Ghibli polished. They just slackered on that veneer. And it looks really good. It holds up. The animation quality is beautiful. I love all the 90s tech. It's literally films like this that are set in the modern times in the 80s and 90s are time capsules. They are time capsules of technology. I love them. And I like our main character. Our main boy, Taku, at first he was kind of like arrogant, a little snotty, but as the story goes on, I really like Taku's character. And I think that he kind of comes into his own. And I really liked how his character was presented. And then Yutaka, he's amazing. I love his character. His character I kind of resonated with the most. But all of the characters, Yumi, we get the one guy that was Oikawa, basically. Oikawa or Gary Oak, one of the two. They both were really good in this. I thought that all the characters were fleshed out. They were interesting. Just Rikako. We're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about Rikako. She is the anime equivalent of Daisy from The Great Gatsby for me. And I Daisy is my least favorite fictional character of all time from The Great Gatsby. She is a trollop. I hate her character. She's just so self-absorbed and she just uses the men around her and she gives women a bad name. And I will say this. I do give Rikako some grace because for the majority of this film, she's a child. And I think that is something to keep in mind. Well, she's not even really a child. She's a teenager. She's a teenager in high school. That was one thing that I kept getting kind of confused on with the translation was I was confused on whether they were in junior high or high school, because at one point it says junior high in the subtitles, and then at another point they were third years, so they were graduating high school, and they were talking about college, and I was like, it got a little confusing with the subtitles, which one they were in, and they were talking about like a junior high trip and a high school trip together, and I was like, which one are we in? So, and then they said, you know, junior class, which in high school is like a third year. But then I'm like, in the Japanese school system, a third year is technically a senior. So I was very confused on the ages of these characters, but they were essentially between, I was like, I knew they were between 14 and 17 the whole time, which again, some of the, like the more sexual themes that come out in it, I thought were handled really well. We'll talk about them a little bit more. But this movie is kind of a product of its time in a lot of ways. And we should talk about that. So, but I do like a lot of it. I think that as a coming of age story, it's very good. As a coming of age story, I really like it because there's a big theme throughout this movie about how time changes us and changes the world around us that I feel is very relevant. So, for example, Rikaku, when she goes back to her home with her father, she discovers that he's got a new girlfriend and that she's changed the house up and that they've kind of painted over her room, which we'll talk about when we get to it. But there's that theme of, oh, things aren't the way they were when I left. And I felt this way and now I feel differently. And so that's part of growing up. And then there's a theme of, well, I was dating this guy in junior high, and then now that I'm seeing him again, I'm like, oh, he's not like what I remember at all. He's actually kind of a douche lord. And it's like, yeah, that nostalgia and time passing will do that, and it'll reveal that to you. So I really like that theme. Like, that stuff is all really well relatable. And I loved that at the end, Yutaka and Taku got to see each other again, because I was really, when they like stopped talking, I was like, are they gonna get to see each other? I'm gonna be so mad if they don't. But they do. And enough time has passed where, you know, what Yutaka was mad at, he's let go. He's like, it's fine. I've moved on from it. He hasn't quite moved on from it, but we'll get to that. But I love that theme of just letting time pass and understanding how time changes us and the value of nostalgia and the curse of nostalgia. And it's really, really well done. As a coming of age story, this is a really good movie and I like it. As a romance, I don't like it at all. As a romance, I not only felt no chemistry between Taku and Rikako, they were forcing the chemistry so damn hard between the two of them. I did not feel it. And it does one of the tropes that I dislike most because I've seen the results of it in real life. And that is this trope of these two main characters that all they do is argue and hate on each other and bicker and manipulate and screw each other over and just lead each other on. And they don't seem to have any chemistry. And then they get together because somehow that aggression and violence becomes charming. That's how they frame it. And I dislike it so much because I know people in real life who have developed relationships from the scenario, like with Taku and Rikako. And it has, in my own experience, not me myself, but watching friends in these types of relationships, it's led to abuse. It's led to them getting divorced. It's not been a lasting relationship, and it's been really hard. So whenever these kind of tropes get put on screen and get romanticized, I want to gag. I want to gag because I'm like, no, these are not healthy. This is not good. This is very much a product of 1993. And I'm like, no. And here's my thing. Here's my issue. As a romance, when they said it's a love triangle, totally missed the mark. I feel in my mind, when this movie was going and was starting out, I was like, is this a love story between Yuta and between Taku and Yutaka? Is this a love story between them? Because it really starts out with those undertones. And I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I was trying to be like, no, I ship all the time. And I am a full-blown Fujoshi. I will admit it. I'm an American Fujoshi for sure. And I was trying to be like, no, let's not just ship. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say that these two, because here's my thing. I feel like sometimes in the comments I get some flack, and on the Discord, channels, they're like, oh, well, just because they're two guys, you want to ship them. And I'm like, no, there has to be chemistry. There was legit chemistry between Taku and Yutaka. There was chemistry between them. They had such a great friendship, but it always seemed like I got the vibe that Yutaka liked Taku and that he was trying to like convince Taku to maybe like he was trying to see if Taku was interested in him or not. And we're going to talk about it here in a second, but I felt like this story could have been a really cool kind of like either a queer story or like a queer platonic story where maybe the two guys realize that they are just friends. Because I do think it's really important that men have platonic relationships that are healthy with other men. I am all for that. I think that a lot of times media portrays men as being isolated and they can't have friends or they'll be considered to be gay for each other. And I'm like, no, I mean, gay people exist and they do love each other and they are attracted to each other, but not every man is attracted to another man. That's like saying that every woman is possibly attracted to another woman. That's not the case. So I feel bad because I do want to support this as being like these two best friends who weren't into each other. But damn, the beginning of this movie really gave you a lot of times where you're like, but they kind of are. And then I felt like at some point the movie, we're going to get into it with the timeline here of the film. At some point the movie turns a switch and they're like, oh, well, didn't you know that Taku was into Rikako the whole time? And I'm like, actually, no, because he has no chemistry with her in terms of being romance. Like, I'm like, what? So let's get into it. So we start out the movie with him seeing her on the train. And I'm actually going to start and get some kind of like imagery on here so you all can see it with me. So you know where I'm at in the movie as I'm talking about this part here, because it's so fascinating to me. So here in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to talk it with you through you all. We're going to go through this. But yeah, so he like goes, he sees her at the train tracks. I do feel like the Pixar short Paper Planes or Airplanes was kind of based or influenced by this because there are moments in that short that seem like they're derived from this, oddly enough, which, you know, everybody gets influence from everything. So I'm not saying they copied it, just the influence is there. One thing this movie does really well, like in this moment here, is seeing how people like look on the screen. Like that's such a good moment. Like the way that people are drawn and their actual interactions and their physicality is really well done throughout the movie. But yeah, so the movie starts out with Taku and he is working at this restaurant, which I kind of made this gripe in the reaction, but in the 90s, I was like, oh, so it's not just a US thing. There was a big generational shift in the 90s where I feel like I was a child in the 90s, so I was not part of this per se. I was like a teenager in the 2000s, so it's a little different. But I feel like there was a big push in the 90s of like teenagers were more like rebellious. They were more like laissez-faire about the working class and culture. And like, you know, we're not working every day for the man like Gen X and the boomer generation were. And like the post-World War II generations were. They're like, no, why are we working ourselves to death? That's dumb. And so it was kind of like a mix between like late Gen X, millennial, early millennial vibes. But there's like a couple movies in the US that came out in the early 90s, like Reality Bites and some others that position these like kind of well-off, in the US, it's like well-off white kids that are privileged and like can just skirt off work or use their parents' credit card or whatever. And I'm not saying Taku is exactly that, but the idea that you just leave your job to go hang out with your friend at the high school, in hindsight, once we find out they're high schoolers, I'm like, that's such a 16-year-old thing to do. But now that I'm in my late 30s, I get the owner of the restaurant's frustration where he's like, kids these days. And I'm like, no, that kind of makes sense. So he goes, so basically, Yutaka got him to go to the high school in this opening scene. And he's just like, you know, she moved here from Tokyo. That's why. I just showed her around the school. And, you know, Yuta's like, or Taku's like, oh, well, do you like her? And he's like, oh, I just showed her around the school. At that point, neither of them are really seemingly interested in her. They just kind of look at her out the window and see her. And they're like, you know, we can't just walk down and talk to her. There is a little bit of, I don't want to say there's objectification of her in this movie, but it is kind of like, and I don't want to say it's like viewing her as exotic because she's from Tokyo. She's from somewhere different. But it's the way that they kind of view her in this. Now looking at it from a lens in 2026, you kind of are like, I felt bad for her in a little way at the beginning because I felt like they were just kind of looking at her as just, oh, she's pretty. Oh, she's from this exotic Tokyo and like all this. And they weren't trying to get to know her as a person at all. They just viewed her for her looks and because she was smart and like the star tennis player, but they weren't trying to talk to her or get to know her. They were viewing her like she was an object on display. And I kind of felt bad for her at first because I was like, that sucks. Like, you should try to get to know her and try to talk to her, you know? It's creepy to stalk her from a distance. Like, if you're not going to talk to her, then move on, you know? So, but again, they're teenagers, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for a lot of that in this. But this whole school trip thing also was like ultimate privilege. I grew up in a poor rural school. Like, we went 2 hours away for my 8th grade trip. We took a train to the city 5 hours away and spent a day there, and then took the train home. And that was what we saved up 3 years for, to be able to do that trip. And these spoiled brats go to Hawaii for a day. I was like, what? Which I wanted to know. I wanted to know, like, Hawaii in the 90s, I'm sure was expensive. It's horribly expensive now, because I've thought about planning a vacation there, and it's ridiculously expensive. But I want to say Japan, let's say Kochi, the city of Kochi, Japan, and then let's say Hawaii. Like, where did they go to? Let's just say just Hawaii in general. That is still, let's see here. Which way do you want to go? It's kind of like, how are you going to travel there? The best travel modes. It's still like a 22-hour flight to Hawaii. What school is approving you to take a 22-hour flight, like a day-long flight to Hawaii for a random school trip, and then you're all complaining because you didn't get to go on it? I was like, what? 90s problems, y'all. 90s problems. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, just, that is outrageous. Like, did you all even have to, they were like, save up your money for Hawaii. I'm like, that trip would cost thousands of dollars per person now. Like, that's absolutely insane. Maybe in Japan they had vouchers or something. They do this weird thing though. They do this weird thing where they make the screen like smaller at times and bigger at times. And look, I'm an artistic person. I don't mind making artistic decisions like this, you know, for the sake of being stylish. The only thing is, if you're going to do something like that, you need to have a reason behind it. Like, if it's a flashback or if it's making like a dramatic statement. And here in this film, it felt weird. Like, it was a weird choice, and it only happened randomly at the beginning. It didn't happen later on in the movie. So I was kind of like, well, but what was the point? So I don't know. But we find out that from Taku that him and Yutaka were never in the same class. I thought that was going to make a difference, and that was going to be a thing. Like, I thought it was hinting that they were best friends and they were really close, but they never, like, the timing never worked right where they were in the same class together, so they always had to see each other after school. Like, I thought that there was going to be something with that going on. And that's when I started to be like, okay, we're like a good solid 7 minutes into this. So where's this going? And then the whole thing where they approach the one teacher trying to tell her that, like, they talked such a big game. And then when they showed up to, like, berate her, they were like, you should have let us go on the trip. You know, they're being, again, as a teacher and as someone who's probably the age of the adults in the room, I could understand their frustration. I was like, kids, look, it's a trip. And honestly, here's the thing. In the 90s, since I was in grade school through the 90s, testing was starting to become like a big thing. I actually, to be quite honest with you all, I hate standardized testing. I think it's not accurate in determining students' quality of education. And I think it's actually caused the downfall of a lot of educational systems. I don't like standardized testing at all. But there was a lot of it starting in the 90s, and there was this like race to be the most academically successful, which has fallen off the face of the earth now. Because we don't value education in our country, but that's a discussion for another day. But I do remember, like, where schools would not get funding in the US if their test scores were not high enough to meet the state average. So there was a pressure from academic administrations to make sure that your school tested high enough. So I could understand the school being like, if y'all can't get your shit together, we're not taking you to Hawaii. Or we're not taking you on a trip to wherever. So I could understand why the administration did it, but I could also understand from a student perspective why, if you've been promised this trip and you've looked forward to it and suddenly it's gone, I can understand that instant sort of like twinge of anxiety and anger that would develop, you know? But here's the thing. At this point in the movie, we've just mentioned the new transfer girl. She's not really been a part of this film. And we are at this point like a solid 11 minutes into this. And we start to get these two guys who both spoke up about wanting to go on the trip, and they end up getting detention together. And so you have Taku, who writes his like reason. He's like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense and I hate it. Like, he's very impulsive. He's very straightforward. He's very blunt. He doesn't take any shit, which you like about Taku's character. And then you have Yutaka, who is very eloquent, very prose. He's like, you know, this is something that 10 to 20 years from now, I will look back upon and regret and all of this. Like, he's very well spoken. And they're two guys that are very different in their approaches to things in life, but they've found this camaraderie and friendship between them. And at this point, we're, you know, 11 minutes into the film, I'm like, and I knew it wasn't going to happen because Studio Ghibli doesn't have the balls. They do not have the balls to do a queer film. They just don't. They're too traditional. They're too traditional for a mainstream audience, which I should not have to say because a mainstream audience should be accepting of anybody and all sexualities. But here we are. Get off my soapbox. But for a second I was like, I know they're not going to because they don't have the guts to do it. But I'm like, is this about these two guys? And then I thought, okay, well, if it's not going to be about them in a relationship or developing like romantic feelings, maybe it's going to be about their friendship. And maybe it's going to be a coming age story, kind of like Stand By Me. I mentioned Stand By Me in the reaction. Like, maybe it's going to be like Stand By Me, where these kids are growing up and they experience this conflict. And I was like, is the girl going to be involved in the conflict? And then they're all going to become friends. And it's about, you know, aging and nostalgia and things like that. Because they mentioned like 10 to 20 years from now, what am I going to remember? I was like, maybe something like that will happen. And maybe it'll be that. But I wasn't getting that this was a romance yet, you know? And so then we see Yutaka. Taku finds Yutaka and her as he's like introducing. And at this point, there was this moment here with Rikaku where she kind of has this like love at first sight sort of glance towards Taku. And I was like, okay. But here's the thing. Taku doesn't react that way. Like, she kind of has a look like, oh, he's cute. But Taku doesn't respond or react. He's just kind of like, hey, what's up? And he kind of wonders if Yutaka has like a thing for her, which throughout this part of the movie, I was like, no, Yutaka seems to have a thing for you, but maybe you're confused. Because when he says, you know, he's like, well, are you guys dating? And Yutaka's like, no, she just asked me where the bookstore was. So it's clear that she's not interested in Yutaka. It's clear she's not interested in Yutaka. And Yutaka is answering, being like, do you think there's something, you know, behind her transfer and like why she transferred? And I guess at that point, you could assume that Yutaka is interested in her romantically and he's trying to find out more about her. And Taku just doesn't know how to answer or what else to focus on. He's like, I don't know. What do you think? But then there was another part of me that was wondering if, you know, Yutaka thinks that Yutaka might be projecting some of his wanting to relate to her because he's an outsider, because maybe he is gay and he's an outsider and he wants to relate to her because she's an outsider, and they find a way to like find camaraderie and solidarity amongst one another, you know, allyship. And I'm getting way too generous for the film. And he's like, it really irritated me. Now, there are some notions in this movie that are very dated and a little bit sexist. And we have to talk about them real quick. Like when he's like, girls only care about looks. I assure you they don't. As a woman myself, when I am interested in someone, which granted, I'm kind of demisexual, so I can't speak for all the hetero women out there, but I can speak for myself in that looks are not everything. And trust me, I've seen some of my lady friends and the men they've dated and married, looks weren't everything. It has to do with their personality and their humor and their intelligence and all these other factors. So let's not assume. That's like saying men only look at women for their looks. That's just like saying that. Because that in the next thing, they're like, Rikaku became a sensation with us simple country boys. And I like that this was the point too, because the one guy's like, hey, look at her playing. And she had like the big boobs. And Taku is like, yeah, they're big. We know. And I was like, well, first of all, thank you, sir, for being that way. But also I was like, is he interested in women? Or because, you know, he just brushes it off. But they all like follow Rikaku because she is she's, really good at sports and everything. And that's kind of where the whole, like, are they seeing her as a person though? Or are they just seeing her as, this exotic Tokyo girl who's good at everything? And what do we do with that? And so then I did this point here, you can take it two ways. Whenever he runs into Yutaka and Yutaka, he was like, yeah, he's like, everybody's all into Rikako. You could take it two ways. You could take it as Yutaka is interested in her and he's jealous of all those boys trying to hit on her because he doesn't feel like he's adequate enough to date her. You could view it as that. Sure. You could take that. Or I took it in the moment of him being kind of like mad that Taku was into her because he wants to be with Taku. So you could take it two totally different ways in how that's presented. And I don't think you'd be wrong either way because the scene kind of presents itself as that. So yeah, she stands out, and what's interesting is like the girls gossiping and the one class representative comes down and she's like, that's enough gossiping. I thought this girl had a thing for Rikako, and by the end of the film she's like, no, I hated her. And I was like, I misjudged that relationship entirely. I thought she kept wanting to try to get Rikako integrated into the girls, and maybe she did, and it just failed because Rikako wasn't interested. I was like, I was wrong entirely about her relationship in all of this. Crazy. So yeah. So then, and this guy here. This is the guy that's into Yumi. So that's funny. She's 12. So yeah, Rikako doesn't seem like she's making any friends. She's self-isolating. She's not making friends. And at this point, I did feel bad for her because she's come over here with her mom. We find out she's living alone, and we find out she's living by herself because she doesn't want to be around her mom because she's trying to take her dad's side, and this is before they go to Tokyo. And so she just feels like she can't make any friends here, and she doesn't even want to be here. She wants to be back with her dad in Tokyo. So from the perspective of her being a high school student, like leaving her friends behind and coming here, I could understand why she would feel that way. And I kind of felt bad for her. I'm glad she met a friend in Yumi because I kind of was like, I wanted her to make a friend. And I wanted her to at least become maybe friends with Yuta and Yukata. So then we have the mom talking about Rikako, and they're talking about like her in town, and her dad like owns this fruit packing company. So they're kind of well off. The dad is seemingly, and they talk about it. Also at Sushi, the brother, like the little gremlin eating, she'll just go back to Tokyo for college. And, I think the mom's perspective is really important where she's like, it's natural for the mom to want those kids to be with her. The dad is just there. Taku's dad is literally just a figure. He has no part in this movie at all. He just looks like Clark Kent sitting there. But, you could also argue, if you were going to argue the moment that Taku became interested in her, I would argue this is the moment that happened because he started to question why was she here and why, what was it like for her to be away from her home and everything. Also, the Studio Ghibli cassette tape ad is amazing. I kind of love it. It's so wild. The Ghibli Super 12. Nice. So yeah, he falls asleep, and that's when Yutaka calls him. And again, he's like, I heard she lives alone. So I went to her house and she was alone in bed. So again, you could take this scene as two ways. You could view this as Yutaka's like trying to like talk to Taku about like, oh my God, I felt like she was alone in her bedroom and I went there to go see her, and like, oh my God, she lives alone. Like he's kind of gushing to Taku being like, I really like her. And like, you could view it that way. You could also view it as, he's talking to Taku on the phone and being like, hey, she's isolated by herself. What do we do about this? What do you think about this? Like just gossiping to Taku. And you could view it kind of through a queer lens that way. There's two ways to look at it. The third way is also looking at, is Taku realizing that he knows his friend likes her, and so he feels like he needs to step back to let his friend try to be with her? I don't know. From my perspective, though, he still doesn't have any romantic feelings towards her, and he doesn't even seem that interested in her. Everybody's just kind of like forcing him to think about her, And so he feels forced to, what kind of girl? And he's like, so you like that kind of girl, do you, Yutaka? That line there, that to me does not read like the line of, oh man, I liked her too, but now my best friend likes her. That doesn't read that way to me. It read like, oh, so you like a girl, Yutaka. And then at that point I was like, okay, is this a queer film where Taku is kind of maybe questioning his sexuality and whether he likes Yutaka, his best friend? Like, is that where this is going? I was trying not to like say too much, but I was getting those vibes. So then they go to Hawaii, and he says that everything went downhill from there, which I would argue at the 21-minute mark, when we are like a third of the way through the film, or rather a fourth of the way through the film, she does Rikaku, like up through this point, up until this point, I've felt really bad for Rikako. And I've wanted her to kind of reach out and make friends. And I was like, okay, I'll give this girl the benefit of the doubt. Then she lies. She lies to steal money, not only from Taku, but also steals money from Yutaka. And there is a stigma against women manipulating men for money that has been prevalent for decades. And it's really stupid. And moments like these with her character kind of follow along with that stereotype. And I don't like it. So I was like, girl, what? And at first you're like, okay, you think, okay, is she getting the money because her family, like her mom's actually really poor, and since they're not with the dad, they don't actually have any money, and she's just putting on a front? Like, okay, what does she actually need the money for? But the way that she asked for the money, and the way that she kind of like, you know, begged him for it, and then when he like this part here, I did like the conversation where she was like, well, you know, you guys make fun of me, and he's like, yeah, because you make fun of our Kochi dialect and call us samurai. He's like, that's not very nice. I like that he called her out on her prejudice, and he called her out on making fun of him, and he's like, it's not so fun, is it? I do like that he held her accountable for her actions, but I don't know. I don't think that holding someone accountable for their flaws is, to me, a solid foundation for a romantic relationship. But that's what this movie seems to think. So it's like, okay, cool. But then she's like, you know, they have this little moment where they talk about dialects. And it makes a little bit of sense. Like, I felt a little bad for her here, where she was like, I didn't understand you all at first. So that's kind of why I was isolated, because I couldn't understand your accent because it was so thick, and I was afraid of seeming dumb asking you to say things twice. And I was like, oh. And then Taku tries to talk up his friend Yutaka here, being like, yeah, you know, my best friend's a nice guy, you know, if you're interested in him. And then she just doesn't seem like she's interested in him. She's like, yeah. And at that point, he's like, well, I'll go up and get the money. And this part was weird. Not the part of him getting the money out of the pantyhose that was wrapped around him. Because, I mean, I get you're on a trip. I've hid money in shoes before, so I get that. But she's just sitting there, like, just staring out the window, and then she sees him. And then she takes the money and goes. But when she takes the money and goes, then she just leaves him. Like, she doesn't try to befriend him. She literally used him for money and left. And I was like, that was kind of a jerk move. I don't know if I like that. And so then Yutaka sees them, and I feel like at this point, if you're going to establish a love triangle, it would be this point, because this starts Yutaka kind of being like, oh, you guys were together, you know, what's going on? And like all this. But still, I feel like Yutaka is either one of two things. He either likes her and is jealous that she's spending this time with Taku, or he secretly likes Taku and is afraid that Taku is going to choose her over him. Like, that's literally the two paths that it seems like it can't decide which way it wants to go. And I was like, okay, well, Taku doesn't seem interested in her, but he's best friends with you, so I guess we'll see where this goes to from here. And so, yeah, then they spend the rest of the day, and she seeks him out. So at this point, when she seeks him out, I was like, okay, does she like... It was starting to become this thing where it was like, is Taku going to choose her or his best friend? Is he going to realize his sexuality and choose Yutaka over her, or is he going to stick with her? And I wish the movie had made it a little more ambiguous at the end, but at the end it shows him like choosing her and going to find her in the end credits and them being together, and they do not have chemistry. I was like, they don't. They really don't. Because she gets mad at him here. So let's do a tally of their interactions. They had a decent interaction talking about the dialects where they kind of hold each other accountable. That was amicable, at least. That's been like the one conversation they've had. And she said earlier that Yutaka talks all about Taku when they go to the restaurant. So I'm like, okay, Yutaka's talking all about his bestie to her. Which, if you were really... That was the part that confused me too. Because I'm like, if he was wanting to be with her... Why would he talk up this? Okay, yes. So if he's trying to be with her and he doesn't want her with him, with Taku. Why would he talk up Taku so much? And if he is trying to talk up Taku, so because he knows that she likes him and she's trying to get with him, then why is he mad whenever they kind of get together? So I was just like, what? So this interaction, all fired up about this movie, this interaction, she gets mad because Yutaka figured out the whole thing about the money and got more money from her. And so he's like, the next day, he's like, well, that was a weird encounter. And he gets kind of mad at her. He's like, how did her parents, like, he gets mad at her. Like, I'm sorry, if some guy came up to me and smack talked me in high school, my thought wouldn't be like, gosh, he's cute. I'd been like, what an asshole. And I would move away from him as far away as possible because those aren't good signs. Those are red flags, my friend. And so he's like, the next day we returned to Kochi and I bought some candid shots of Rikako from a friend. Now, this part was a little bit weird where he's like, I felt like getting even. I'm like, and I thought that it was for my bad feelings. So, I mean, I guess you could argue at that point that he got the candid shots of her because he was attracted to her, but he doesn't realize that he's attracted to her. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll give you that. I'll give you that movie. I'll give you that that's it. But then, like, she develops this friendship with Yumi. And so then Yumi calls, the moment that I realized this is where the twist is. So at first it's like, okay, this is a movie where Taku is maybe going to have to figure out who he has feelings more for, Yutaka or Rikako. That twist happens about this point here at the 30-minute mark, where Yumi calls him because she realizes that now Rikako has hijacked her at the airport and they're about to take off to Tokyo. Also, how these parents just let these kids do whatever. Look, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, it was the 90s. It was a different time. Oh, it's Japanese culture. All that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it is mind-blowing to me. If I took off to a plane and got on a plane to another part of the country, my parents would wring my neck when I got home. I would be grounded for years. They would be so unbelievably pissed. It would be no question of the trouble I would be in. And so to watch these kids just get off scot-free and Taku's mom being like, you're in Tokyo? Well, oh my God, my lands. What a world. I'd be like, my parents would be pissed. They'd be like, get on the first train back right now. I'm like, what? That's insane. That's insane to me. But, you know, if I was watching this as an 18-year-old, it'd be like the ultimate power fantasy. You get to get on a plane and leave with somebody to go away to another city. Like the ultimate, like, homeward bound incredible journey. So as a kid, I would love this. The state I'm in now, I'm like, what the fudge are you doing? So he goes down there, but the whole time he finds out that she used his money to buy a plane ticket. He's like, it was a lie. She didn't lose her money. She was saving up for a plane ticket. This is not the basis of a romantic relationship. This woman has lied to you, stolen your money, and is using it to buy a plane ticket. That's such a fickle thing. I know she's going to see her dad, but like, I wouldn't look fondly back on this and be like, remember that time you bummed money off of me and bought a plane ticket and lied to me and used it all and then hijacked your friend and then I had to go take your friend. I wouldn't look back fondly on that as like our first date. That wouldn't be the basis of a romantic experience for me. But yeah, so he comes up with the idea. As soon as he talks about the idea of Yumi going home, I'm like, he's going to end up going with her on that trip. Now, to be fair to Rikako in this moment, she's on her period. She's in a bad mood. I get in a bad mood as well. So I understand when it's that time of the month, your emotions are on a high roller coaster. I understand. She's probably feeling really terrible right now. I get it. I'm glad they actually talked about periods in this movie. That was great. They should talk about them more in movies because yes, it sucks being a woman. We have to shed a part of our body every month and it's terrifying. So yeah, I'm glad that she talks about it. But yeah, so she convinces him. But the moment he's like, I'll go with you to Tokyo so you'll have somebody to go and chaperone you. She's like, oh my God, thank you. And I was like, girl, you manipulated the shit out of him for this. So yeah, and even here's like, this is the thing too. Like on the plane ride there, and I get she's on her period. She's probably not in a great mood, but she doesn't even acknowledge him. He like does her the biggest favor by going with her on this trip and supporting her as a friend. He does his biggest thing. And on the plane ride there, she doesn't even look at him. She doesn't even acknowledge his presence. Like, the fudge. Like, she just acts like he's not even there. And granted, she has her dad on her mind. And she's like, when I see my dad, I'm going to tell him that I want to stay in Tokyo. Right? So then they go to her house. And that's when the other woman is there. Now, again, there's two sides to every story. And I do feel bad for her in the sense that she probably, you know, if I were 18 and my dad and mom just divorced and my dad had already moved on to another woman and my dad had converted my room into something else, I would have been mad. I would have been mad as an 18-year-old. I would have been very upset. But I think there's another side to it that's kind of to the central theme of the film, and that is that time moves forward. And if her dad and mom are divorced and her dad wants to move on, he kind of has that right. And I feel bad for her because it does suck that her dad seems like a nice guy, but the moment they're gone for a long time, she says that Taku is her boyfriend, and Taku doesn't object to that. So I don't know if we're supposed to take that as a sign that Taku wanted to be her boyfriend, or if it's a translation issue. But the moment that they spend an awkwardly long time upstairs, you know, they probably argued, and he comes back down and gives them the money, and he's like, oh, I'll give you a reservation at a hotel. And I'm like, not in this. She mentioned the house was bigger than a family of 4, and now it's not big enough to let this guy that escorted your daughter over here. Okay. I mean, I guess I get it that he gave her the hotel. I guess I get that. Also, that woman was posh as hell. She was indeed. She was like, it was like the, Parent Trap. She was like the new girl in the Parent Trap. But yeah, like he's all by himself in this house. He's flown over with this girl. There's family drama. He's in the middle of it. It's awkward. And then he gets sent to a hotel. So he takes the train. And on the train, you know, he's a lot nicer than I would have been. Because the guy gives him the money and sends him on his way. And he's like, I felt sorry for her from the bottom of my heart. And Taku is a nice kid. And Taku is a sweet soul. And I think that's awesome that he felt sorry for her. And you know what? Sure. From his perspective, with us as the audience, we do feel sorry for her. Because that kind of is a sucky situation. But then, like, he calls his parents, tells me his Tokyo has no repercussions for it. But then she comes in and she's like, I can't deal with my father. I need a place to stay. And she throws herself at him. And I'm like, girl. Not only does she throw herself at him, but then she gets drunk. And I'm like, they're like 17-year-olds. And I was like, And at this point, I was afraid that she was going to try to make a move on Taku. And I was like, nope, that's not good. That's not good at all. And again, the idea of him feeling bad for her, I feel like you don't have to be sexually or romantically attracted to someone to feel bad for them. I felt like that could easily just be him like, man, that sucks for her. And then I thought that when she came over there and nothing happened between them, like no offense, but in this scene right here, there is like, in my opinion, there is no romantic sparks between them in this moment. She's being hysterical. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, do you want a water or a beer? And she gives him whiskey and Coke, which I'm like, Jesus, girl. And then she's like, she drinks all this and talks about, you know, her woes. And he is like a friend to be a shoulder to cry on for her. And she's like, I thought he was on my side, but he wasn't. And I do appreciate that Taku takes like this moment to like, we get the call back to the conversation with the mom in the kitchen, and he's like, you know, you should help your mom. And he ties that back to the conversation he had with his mother before he ended up going on this trip with her. And I thought that was really, really well done. But in this entire scene, he does not seem like somebody that is interested in Rikaku. He just seems like he's being a friend, and it's awkward for him and he doesn't know what to do, but he's like, I'm going to be your friend. And then he's a very big gentleman. He like puts her to bed, which is great. And he sleeps in the tub, which was a very nice gentlemanly thing to do. And from her perspective, I could see why this would make her fall for him, because she's been isolated and thrown around and seemingly, you know, dissed by family. So to have someone genuinely care for her like Taku does in this moment, I'm sure that attracted her to him. I don't blame her. I think it would me too. But the thing is, he just doesn't have a lot of chemistry with her in these scenes. And then the next day, after this moment which I guess, I mean, here in this moment, he's like, I don't know what to do. He has this moment of not knowing what to do at all. I mean, I think that that's another sign of the time changing her perception. I think at the moment when it happened, she didn't think much of it. And then after they graduated and she thought on it, she's like, man, that guy was a nice guy. He didn't take advantage of me. And he slept in the bathroom and was a gentleman for me. And it could have been a lot worse, and I was kind of awful to him. And he still was nice to me. She's like, probably shouldn't have done that. So, Like, you could just, like, time makes her view that situation differently. But the next morning, after he gets out of the tub, when she's like, oh, I'm going to go visit, she's like, I need you to leave. I was like, what? She's like, I need you to leave because I'm seeing, like, my old boyfriend that's in town, and I'm just going to go hang out with him. So I need you to, like, just do something for the day. I don't know, but I need you to leave while I shower. What? Like, if I'd have been him, I'd been like, I'll stay in here and you can take your stuff in the bathroom and get changed. I was like, what? Excuse me? Again, he was far too nice, but like, girl, this is not romantic. I do like the fact that he figures out he wants to go to Tokyo College just by walking around, and he found like a peace there. Like that was the silver lining of the entire experience, is he figured out he wanted to be in Tokyo. And that part is pretty nice. I like that scene also. But then she's like, she calls him saying she has to be rescued, being freaking dramatic. And we get to see basically Oikawa. Okada. Who is the voice actor for Okada? It was, is it who I think it is? It was Junichi Kanemaru. Who does he voice? Is it really who I think it is? Please. He voiced Sonic the Hedgehog in Sonic X, so that's great. He was a character in Hunter x Hunter. Well, who else was he in? He's been in Digimon. He's been in Rurouni Kenshin. He was Sugoroku in Dragon Ball Z. What? Unfortunately, no, he's 62. Yeah, he just hasn't acted in a couple years in anything. He was in What was he in Gunbuster? Was he in Gunbuster? Was he? I want to find this out real quick. His voice sounded somewhat familiar. So I was like, was he in Gunbuster? I want to see this. Oh, he was DJ in Trigun. Okay, maybe he was in the sequel to Gunbusters and that's it. But anyway, he sounded a little bit like Oikawa, so that was a thing. He also looks a lot like Oikawa. But yeah, this is the thing where she knew him back in the day, and now that she's seeing him now, she's realizing that he was kind of a douche, and she didn't want to be around him anymore. And so, yeah, and then in this part here, she's like, I was disappointed. I'm in Tokyo, and all she does is hang around with... I'm in Tokyo, and all she does is put on a big show and fawn over some stupid guy. So again, you could argue... I could see the concept that this is where Taku is a little jealous of the ex-boyfriend, but I'm like, clearly she doesn't like him. But also, I'm sorry, having dinner with your ex-boyfriend and then you invite over the new guy to see if he'll get jealous is a bitch move. I don't like that at all. I think that's really dumb. I don't think it's successful. I don't think it's a successful romantic move. I don't like it. I'm like, I have a lot of problems with a lot of her actions. And then she's like, well, maybe we're just both boring. And I'm like, you kind of are. So, I mean, you're pretty and you're good at tennis and you're smart, but your personality is kind of awful. And I feel bad for her at times, but I'm not wrong. She is kind of an awful personality. And then after this whole Tokyo trip, she ignores him. And goes back to being friends with Yumi. And she knows about all the rumors. And she doesn't put a kibosh to them. She just ignores them until it gets to the part where Yutaka like takes him up to the top of the school and asks about if they were in the same hotel room together. And again, at this point, you could take it one of two ways. You could assume that Yutaka is jealous of Taku because he's got to be with her and he wishes it were him, or you're mad that Taku might be developing a relationship with her and it's not with him instead. So I was like, the love triangle is so bizarre to me. He's like, I ran into the library and asked her. And again, she was like, really, if she knows he's his best friend, which I don't think she does, which again is a problem, that she was really insensitive in that moment. And that's when this confession part where he's like, I'm in love with you, I was like, oof. And she just gets mad because she doesn't know what to do with that. And she doesn't love him. She loves the best friend. She's like, I hate Kochi and boys who speak with that dialect. I felt bad for Yutaka. I felt bad for him because he finally confessed. Like, at least in the series of the two of them, he has shown more possible interest in her if you look at it through a certain lens than Taku has. And so when he confesses and gets rejected, I felt for him. I've been in his situation before. It's not fun to get rejected. It really isn't. And I really like Taku standing up for his friend, being like, hey, you were really insensitive and you are feeding all of these rumors. And why are you doing that? And why are you just being the worst? And she's like, well, I don't care. And he's like, well, that's not nice. And she's like, you really are the worst. Like, I don't like this. I don't like this as a romantic trope where they get in a fight and like literally she smacked him. And look, did she deserve to be smacked? You can debate that. I was kind of like, the moment she smacked him across the face, I'm like, girl, you got to expect it to come back. But he smacked her really hard. And I was like, ooh. But then she smacked him again. So maybe the two of them made up for it. I don't like the violence. You should not. Violence is not romance. Not in real life. Mm-mm. We can fictionalize it. People have like fictional, they like toxic romances in fiction and stuff. And in fiction, it's fine. But I feel like in hyper romanticized toxic relationships that are like over the top, I feel like when those are published, they are under the assumption that the reader is not taking these into account for real life. I feel like some of them are so like over the top and outrageous that you're like, oh, this isn't real. Like there's two characters in Skate the Infinity that have a very toxic relationship at times. Now, at times it's not so toxic and it's more of like, S&M and some other stuff, which is more like, it's different. But like the really toxic stuff that's really over the top, nobody is expecting a real life couple to do that. But when you see a movie like this that's coming of age, it normalizes that this is okay. That, oh yeah, that guy that smacked you across the face that you smacked too, you guys will totally end up in love and married together. It's totally fine. And I'm like, it's not. I'm like, no, it really isn't. But yeah, so then she gets an earful from the one group of girls. And honestly, I want to feel bad for her, but she skipped all the practices. She didn't help out the cultural festival at all. She's ignored everybody. She self-isolated herself. And I wish that instead of Taku and her slapping each other, that they had a conversation and there was more like of her, like Yumi being friends and like more stuff happening. But she kind of like digs her own grave. And I kind of feel bad for her. But then I'm like, you couldn't try? Like, you couldn't try to be friends with anybody? And she's like, no. And so it's like, and then by the end of it, everybody's like, she sure was something. And I was like, she kind of was a bitch. She kind of was terrible. And everybody looks fondly back on it with nostalgia. And I'm like, y'all need to take them rose-colored glasses off because she was actually a terrible student. A terrible person in terms of socialness. Like, academically, sure, but like a terrible person. And so then, yeah, we get this scene where he hides his stuff and she gets cornered by all the girls. And I do think that Taku deserves to be punched after this scene. Because she comes up to him and he's like, man, you sure showed them off. And like, he was kind of a jerk to her. And she smacks him and runs off being like, she's like, I thought, she said before she thought they were friends. And then they kind of avoided each other, which granted, she's not been a very good friend. He's had to do all the heavy lifting in the friend department. But then she comes to him after all those girls get onto her and she's kind of like looking to him like, aren't you going to give me some comforting words or anything? And he's like, man, they sure told you off, but you took it like a pro. Ha ha ha. And she's like, you're not going to like offer me any comfort, like any like friendly gestures. And then she gets mad and runs away, which she should be mad. And then Yutaka, who liked her and was rejected by her is like, hey, she likes you. She came to you for comfort and you dismissed her and she's ran away. Like, do you think you should not go back? And he's like, well, she really stood up to them. And he's like, well, didn't you try to stop them from, like, getting onto her? And she's like, well, they would have told me to butt out. They're fed up. Like, Taku is actually a terrible person in this moment. Because, like, Yutaka's like, well, why didn't you stand up for her? Don't you like her? And he's like, nah, they would have totally just, like, you know, I don't really want to show off. And he's like, you know, she can be a real pain. And that's when he's like, you're an idiot. Which he was in that moment. Like, if you told me that Taku ends up marrying this girl and we go back to this scene where he just let her get, like, verbally abused and was just like, she's a real pain. Am I right, bro? And he's like, you're a dumbass. Like, that part, I hated. Especially when he's like, they didn't talk until after they graduated after that. Wild. But anyway, they go to different universities and then some time passes. And they grow up a little bit more, and they go back to meet for the reunion. And then that's when he's like, hey, let's take a walk instead. It's been a while. And this is the part that gets me. After all that in the moment, they stand at the end of this little road here, looking out over the water, and it's beautiful. And after everything that was said between them, there's this moment where they kind of stand, and I love the way that Yutaka stands there and he's like, I was angry that time because I knew you were holding back on my account. And so he's like, basically Yutaka's saying, well, you knew that I liked her. And so you were trying to make it seem like you didn't care for her when you did. But he's like, you must have really liked her. And then he kind of like just smiles as they like stand out there looking over the ocean. And then they just stand there and it says they talked for like an hour just standing out there on the dock. And I'm like, it just felt so weird to me that he was like, well, you must have really liked her and you were holding back on account of me. And I'm like, I didn't get those vibes. I didn't get those vibes at all. I felt like at times Taku liked her, and at times he was awful to her, and at times he seemed like he had no interest in her whatsoever. And at times Yutaka seems like he either was in love with her, or he was trying to see if she was really into Taku to test if Taku was into her or him. I was like, what? So, and the fact, the poster for this movie is so deceptive, because the poster shows him and her on the beach. They are never on the beach in this movie. Never. It's him and Yutaka on the beach. So I'm like, I feel as if the movie could have gone a route of making the two of them, making Rikako and Taku try to be in a relationship, and then him realizing it's not going to work because they aren't really that into each other. And then Yutaka confronting him and being like, well, do you like her? Do you like me? And then it leading to the punch and then them getting out to the dock and then they make up and he's like, hey, I thought about it and I actually am not into her. And then they have this whole thing. Like they could have gone that route. They could have gone that route and it would have been beautiful. But they don't. Instead, they have this reunion, which this one guy looks like he's in a ski cult. What is that about? And the one guy, Yamao, like confesses to Yumi. I thought for a second they were going to get this woman hooked up with Yutaka because we have to heterosexually unite everyone based on their sexes with one another. We got to match up the people that way. But they don't. It's kind of hinted at, but they don't. And then they all just like, they talk so fondly about Rikako and how she's like so pretty and how they didn't really like her at the time. But then she was a terrible person, but deep down we all really liked her. And I'm like, what? I don't feel like it was earned. Yeah, because then the two of them, yeah, they both liked the same woman. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing about Rikako, the world being small and she just needed to branch out. She's like, it's somebody who likes, she's looking for this guy in Tokyo. Somebody who likes to sleep in bathtubs. And I feel like Yutaka knows exactly who they're talking about. And Yutaka has the most nerves of steel. Like, this man lets it go and accepts that his best friend is going to get with the lady that he liked, allegedly. And I'm like, damn, what? And it's hinted at that, oh, we're going to put them together. They talk so fondly about her, but she, like, is not a great person. And then as when he's like, there were so many things I wanted to talk to her about, and I wanted her to see the castle together with us just like this. I'm like, you all have had no good experiences together throughout this whole movie. Like, honestly, they haven't. The experiences they've had together is her not talking to him. Basically, here's the experiences they've shared in the movie. She stole money for him and smooth talked him into giving her 60,000 yen. She berated him in front of their class at Hawaii because she found out that Yutaka knew about the money as well. She coerced him into going to Tokyo with her, even though he did say it was his idea, but like the situation, and then she didn't talk to him. And then he went to a hotel where she got drunk and aired her grievances, and he just sat there and listened to her and then slept in the bathtub. Then she went out to lunch with her ex-boyfriend and invited him to try to make him jealous. And then they went home after she said it was an unsuccessful trip. Then she ignored him for months after that. And then they slapped each other. Then she got verbally abused by her classmates, and now they're fondly remembering what a great person she was. And he's like, I'd really like to show her this castle together. And I'm like, there's been no good, like, moment of you two together in this entire movie. Not one. Not one. There has been no the walk on the dock was with Yutaka. Like, there was no walk on a beach. There was no walking through a shop. Like, when they were in Tokyo, you would have thought there'd be a montage of them, like, going around, like, being together or something. There was nothing like that. So when he's like, man, I'd really like to show her this castle, I'm like, what prior experience do you have of having a good time with this woman? Because it does not exist. What? Yeah. And but with Rikako next to me, it would have been beautiful. Why? Because she looks good? Because she's smart? She's like a manic pixie dream girl. She really is a manic pixie dream girl archetype, which is like when the guy is kind of average and she's this eccentric, larger than life, kind of lofty character, which she is. Then she like makes his life better or something, and she only serves as this purpose to make him like find fulfillment and realize his coming of age narrative and all this. What I want to actually get the actual definition to see if she really truly is. So manic pixie dream girl. It was really popular around the time 500 Days of Summer came out because Zooey Deschanel's character is 100% that. Yes, MPDG. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a stock character type in fiction, usually depicted as a young woman with an eccentric personality quirk who serves as a romantic interest for the male protagonist. It was coined in 2007 from American film critic Nathan Rabin after Kirsten Dunst's character in Elizabethtown, which she is a Manic Pixie Dream Girl as well. I love the movie Elizabethtown, but yes, she is very much that. Basically, there is a male variation for it of Manic Pixie Dream Boy, but basically it says, interview, the overuse of the term, it could be reductive, diminutive, and misogynistic, which yes, it can be. But the idea, let me find an actual like kind of better idea of the trope. Whimsical, a quirky fantasy figure rather than a fully realized human. I guess Rikako is more than that. She is more fully realized than just most Manic Pixie Dream Girls, but the trope of it is kind of like, what I think of it is more the idea of the male hero who has this kind of like something's lacking in his life, and then the Manic Pixie Dream Girl comes to give him a new meaning to it and a new outlook on it. But we don't actually get, what does she get out of it? The answer is she doesn't get much out of it except like to be with the man. We don't really get to know her character any fully. And I would say that that's true because even though we get to know her in this film a little bit through her childhood, the thing is, how do we know she's better? How do we know? They're like, man, I bet she's really turned a new leaf. I bet she's matured just like the rest of us. How do you know? How do we, the audience, know? Because look, some people don't mature when they grow up. There are people that I graduated with. I went to my class reunion a while back, and there are some people that have not changed for better or for worse. And I was like, So I feel like if the movie had given us a little bit, what this movie needed was for her to show up in this last part and go on a walk with Taku, and for them to hash out, like, instead of you talking to him on the bridge, having their moment, their hour-long conversation, we needed her to show up, and her and him to, like, walk on the beach late at night and, like, have their shoes off in their hands and to, like, reminisce about high school, and her having a one-on-one conversation with him, and them communicating, you know, their feelings for each other and, like, where they go from here and whatever. And I know that the movie gives the mystery of, oh, she's looking for a guy who likes to sleep in bathtubs. You know, maybe there's a little wink, wink, you'll see her again one day when you get in the city. But then they show them getting together at the end. So it's like, at that point, just have them hash it out, because there's, like, no resolution with her character. It's just literally kind of what he's hoping for. And we get to hear what she's hoping for. But then it's just like, yeah. And then he reminisces on all the things that they said, but none of it's really romantic. And then he sees her at the train station, which is actually such a great scene. It's such a good scene of them meeting back up. And then he sees her. And she looks fine. She looks well adjusted. And then in the end credits, she looks fine. But, like, in the end credits, she looks like she's doing fine and they're together. But, like, I just wanted more. I didn't get the, like, it shows them together at the end, but, like, how has she changed to match his energy? And to be honest, he could do better. He could do better in my mind. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. I've talked for, like, almost an hour and 15 minutes. This is probably the longest discussion on a commission film I've ever done. But I wish they would have had the balls to make this about Taku and Yutaka. I wish they'd had the balls, because they were such a fascinating duo. Even if they didn't get together, even if it was just, like, platonic friendship and about coming of age that way. The moment they wedged in Rikako and she was just the worst, I was like, again, if I watched this as a teenager, I would have been all about it. But now that I've seen these types of romances and how they portray in real life, I am personally jaded from that. And I'm like, no, this is not my type of romance. This is not my type of romance story at all. So, but it was very interesting. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I could talk to you all about it. I'm sure everyone will disagree. Everybody's probably like, this is the most romantic thing I've ever seen. And I was like, look, we all got opinions for a reason, and I'm just sharing mine. But I am glad that Shimoyama commissioned this, because otherwise I probably never would have seen this movie, and it was very fascinating to talk about. So, whoop whoop. So win-win. But I'm super excited to hear your thoughts down below, obviously. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. Thank you for the commission, Shimoyama. And I am excited to see what we have in a few weeks, starting in August, for our next set of commissions. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll see you very soon with more reactions and discussions.